Hey, hello guys. This is Bronco. Today is the last day of January, so my firewood pile is diminishing. It's getting smaller, and so I hope that days are getting warmer, so I have enough firewood and enough bees. So let's go see the bees. Let's see in here now if there's any bees alive, or it's like my firewood running out. Okay, Ruska, let's look in here. Put that a little closer. All right, let me take this off. All right. Okay, you can go closer now. Can you see him? All right, looks like they have enough food and there's enough bees, so we'll cover them back up and wait for the springtime weather. All right. These insulating pillows back. I like these because they keep them warm, and in summer, it's they don't take much room for storage. Then on top, I give them excluder and put a piece of wood across, so it's always open for ventilation. And so they're doing pretty good, and I will show you inside how we manage them through summer to make them come this way. We don't use any chemicals, so we'll show you what we do. I hope it's a simple process, and so we can understand what's going on. Okay, these are some other animals that are trying to overwinter, and in another month hopefully sun will be stronger and everybody will be happy. Woo! Sure hit cold outside. Woo! Woo! Good thing I got some wood here. Okay. It was last day of January 21, and my wood pile is getting smaller, but I'm pretty sure I have enough till April. And so I'm not worried about my running out of wood. But the bees, they are in a cluster, and that cluster is getting smaller every day. When I come out in the morning, I see some dead bees in the snow every morning. So every morning, every day, the cluster shrinks, gets smaller and smaller. Bees are old now. All the bees in their hive are mostly old, dying, and if the cluster gets too small, they'll all die. Because bees are dying for natural reasons. They stay up to 6 months, maybe even 8 months. But look, if they were born in August, September, then they have September, October, November, December, January, February, In February, there's very few bees left. But they make it to March, and the new start getting born. But there's one thing, other than old age, that makes the bees die, and that's a Varroa mite. Varroa sucks the life juices out of bees when they're in development stage and even as adults, and they maybe live just half of their lifespan, which would make it 3 months. So let's see if we count again from August, September, when they're born with the bees. You got October, November, December. So if most of your bees die in December, cluster will not make it. Get too cold and they die. So let's talk about what we can do about helping bees against Varroa. Okay, now let's, we got 2 hives here. Let's roll up the tape ahead of time because yesterday was beginning of February, but we want to go into May. So roll it up to May. So now we're in the springtime, May 10th, middle of the May. All right, and we go look at these hives. We got regular hive stand here, 2 hives full of bees. There won't be any bees in here because I'm in my basement, but we imagine they're full of bees middle of May. Both boxes full of bees. So let's go look inside. And we'll talk about Varroa a little bit. Okay. So, what I want to discuss a little bit, which is, I'm sure you guys all know about this, that you can trap Varroa with a drone brood. Varroa prefers drone brood to worker brood. So if I put in this hive 2 frames of drone cells, like these are drone cells, I put 2 frames of drone cells in here and 2 frames of worker cells, and I have, let's say, 100 Varroas on bees. The scientists say that out of that 100 Varroas, 90 of them will go into my 2 drone brood combs, and only 10 will go in a worker brood comb when there is equal opportunity. So that's why a lot of times, a lot of people, they use, we obviously cannot just go 2 frames of worker comb and 2 frames of brood comb, that the hive wouldn't progress. But we can, in a regular hive, 10 frame box, we can put 2 brood combs in as a trap for Varroa. And we put them on, I put them on number 3. 1, 2, 3, brood frame, 1, 2, 3, brood frame. I'm talking about drone brood frame. Will be as a trap. All right, so now we cover them, and we come back, roll the tape ahead again, we come back May 20th, 3 weeks later, let's say. May 20th, we pull out these 2, they should be capped now. Obviously, if they're not capped yet, we wait a few days, but if they're capped, we remove them, and we put new empty ones in here. And we cover the thing again. We cover it, and we come back. We come back again, end of May, a few weeks later. Except at the end of May, there's a lot of bees here, and there's honey flow, so we put honey super on. All right, let me get the honey super. Where is the honey super? Okay. So we put excluder. We put excluder. There's a lot of bees. Put excluder there, and honey super. Put frames in here, 9 frames. Then you just cover it. All right, now we're working on 2 things. We're working on bees collecting honey, and we remember we have 2 drone brood frames in here. So it comes June, a couple of weeks later, 2-3 weeks later, you gotta go and remove those drone brood frames. Now we open this thing up. This is already heavy, full of honey. So now we're stuck. In other words, we lock ourselves, whether we have to lift this heavy honey and take it back and lift it back on, or we say, just forget about it. We'll just leave those frames in there and put another honey super on top. So the bees will bring more honey. But like this, we do that, we are really breeding Varroa now in our hive. We're gonna have, because the once they hatch, new queen will lay new eggs, it's gonna be more drones, and it's gonna be a ton of Varroa, and the bees will probably die comes September from Varroa. So that's not what we should do. There is a better way though. There is a better way. So let's roll the tape back a little bit. Stop for a little bit. Roll it back. A couple weeks, and see the better way. All right. So what is the better way? Take this back. Roll it back. So when the time comes, you're working now, right? When the time comes to put honey supers on these 2 hives, we have to leave. We want to leave access to the brood nest, so we can work our drone frames. We want to do that. So how do we gonna do that? It's really not that complicated. Okay, all we do. All we do, open both, we squeeze these 2 hives together. Like that, and go like that. Nice and even. All right. So now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this drone brood frame and put it out here. They can be together, no problem. You put this one there. And we do the same thing on this hive. If we have them already. Nah. Okay, we got one over here. So we leave one over here on that side. So what we do now, we just put excluder across the middle. Alright. It should be even, a little bit uneven. It should be, let's see if we can raise it up a little bit. Okay, a lot better. Alright, so we put excluder over the middle and put honey super You put honey super right over the excluder. We got 9 frames in there. Okay, there's 9 frames in there. So we'll cover it up. Cover this up. So now we have, on this side, in this hive, we have 2 drone frames. On the other side, we have 1 drone frame. And they're not ready to be taken out yet. So we will just cover this. Cover this. Real nice and simple. And now bees, they have, this is one hive and there's the other hive, and they both hives go and store honey up here. So all you have to make sure that you keep adding the supers, as both hives will fill them faster than you even anticipate. So keep an eye on honey supers, and set up like this will probably bring you quite a bit more honey than each individual hive. So, and then in the meantime, when you know that these brood frames are covered, you can just easy open this up and exchange them. Take the full one out, put the empty one back. You do the same thing on the other side, on the other frame, on the other hive. Just open this up. Take both drone brood frames out. Shake off the bees and put the empty ones back, so the queen will lay them up again. This way you extend your brood trapping and drone brood removal technique. So you can go every 3 weeks in here without disturbing the honey production facility of the hive. You just go in the brood nest, remove this drone brood, and if you do that to the end of the season, as long as the queen will lay drone eggs, you have chance to remove them real easy, and you keep the Varroa numbers down. And that's the goal. Keep the Varroa numbers down naturally at all times without having a need for any kind of a chemical. Because with chemicals, what you do, you let the Varroa multiply tremendously. You have huge numbers, throw in some acids, the numbers you hope go way down, then they build up again. So this way, this technique, you'll keep Varroa numbers at a comfortable level. Then on the end of the season, in September, what I do, when I take all the honey is gone already, I check how much Varroa is still in there. I check with powdered sugar. I have a screen board, so I check with powdered sugar. If it's a lot of Varroa, then I dust them with powdered sugar a couple of times. You can use whatever acid, oxalic acid or whatever you like when there's very little brood. So I hope you like this technique. If you're not satisfied with this, if you don't think that this catches enough Varroa, then in a couple of minutes I will give you another option with same basic technique, but another option that is just a little bit more involved you have to have a little bit more experience. For example, you have to be able to catch the queen in this last technique that I will show you. All right, good afternoon. Here we are in the last part of May 20th, and we have two hives here. We expect both of them to be full of bees. Honey flower is on already, tulip is blooming, so let's decide on increasing the honey production and at the same time decreasing the Varroa numbers. It can be done. It's a method that was introduced by Ralph Büchler from Germany, as shown to us by Mr. Peter Berg. So let's just open these hives and see the procedures. The procedures are pretty easy. No heavy lifting. The hardest part of this whole process is finding the queen. So if you are good in finding the queen, this should be easy for you. So let's start with the hardest part, which is finding the queen. Okay, so I start with the second frame and I pull it out so it's more room inside. Okay, then I move this around. Look at that. Now this is but there's eggs here. You see if there's eggs, then she should be close. So let's go to the next one. Hey, look at this. Sure enough, there's a queen on this one. So let's take this queen out and put it in a separate box so it does not get lost. And then, of course, you can put this back, and we do the same thing with the other hive. Find the queen, take her out, and then we can squeeze these two hives together. This is part of the system. Squeeze them together, and next thing we have to do, we have to install the cage in here because the queen will go in the cage from now on. So we'll put this part of the excluder, homemade, the home cut, I should say. I cut it myself. And then this is a vertical excluder, which will make, I like to make a cage for 3 frames. For 3 frames. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so cage is made. We take and we put the queen back in the cage. We can put her right next to the excluder to make a little bit more room. Let me take this one out. Make a little more room here. So we have room for another frame. Alright, so now we have frame that the queen is on. We can have a frame with honey on, and then an empty frame, whether foundationless like this, or better yet, if we use drone frame. These are drone cells, so the queen will lay up whatever you give her. And let's say we give her this drone cell frame. Whoopsie. And then we put the foundationless one right on the other side of the excluder, and the bees will build a great comb, will be worker comb, because the queen needs room to lay eggs. Alright, so then we do the same thing on the other side. You do the same thing on that side. Put the queen in, put the frames back in so we can move this box. Both queens in now. All we have to do is put honey supers on. Because we said it, honey flow is going on already. Now what we do is put honey supers. We don't need the excluder because the queens are in cages. They cannot come no place. So we put the honey super on and we put one more. We put one more on because now we have to understand that there's two hives working on these honey supers. So we have to keep an eye on these honey supers to give bees enough room. We watch the bees. If honey super is almost full of bees, we put another one on, empty one. This way we'll collect a lot more honey. And so let's cover that. Honey supers are on. This, for right now, we can cover. We can cover both sides and let the bees do their thing. They know the best what they're doing. All right, now, let's say 7 days later, we come back. We leave the honey production facility alone. We don't have to lift it, we don't have to disturb it or anything. All we do, we open the brood nest, which is these three, the old brood nest is down here, but we put the queen in the cage here, so that's where she is. So now, we take the frame that she laid eggs in, or that the larva is in. We take it out and we put it on the other side of excluder. Put it on the other side because that's where most of the brood nest is, most of the brood is there, and as they hatch, the Varroa will be mostly in this area, and you give them frame of young larva. Before the larva is capped, a lot of Varroa will go in because they don't have no other place to go. So now on this side, of course, you give another empty frame, or if you have drone frame, because drone larva will always catch more Varroa than worker larva. All right, so let's put this in here. Okay. And then we cover it up again. Cover it up again. Wait 7 days. That means in 7 days we come back. Again, only thing we do is open the little brood nest, little cage, and the frame that we put in should be now capped. That means Varroa should be, no, this one is not, that's the next one is the one we put in. So Varroa is in that frame under the cover of bee covered the cells. So let's pull it out and see if you can see if there's any Varroa on it. And whoa, that's a big one, eh? Woo! Really? In real life, Varroa. It's maybe not this big, but there is a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So you pull them out and take them in the freezer. You freeze this. Now in case of, even if it's drone brood, you take it to my chickens. You can freeze it first to kill the Varroa. And when you took that frame, you take the other frame with eggs, you look which one has eggs in or young larva. This one is a drone frame, which is good. And you put that on the other side and put empty one to queen where she will lay more eggs. And then you cover it up again. But keep in mind that you have to do this with on both sides, obviously, because you have two queens. But keep in mind that honey supers are needed because they're getting filled, which I hope you don't mind. And but you gotta keep an eye to give bees room on top, because from both sides they're going in and store honey. See, you know why you get more honey? First, you have two hives working on one, and second, there's very little brood for the bees to feed. So they reorient their labor into collecting nectar and producing honey. So therefore, this works pretty good. So you do this for 3 weeks, 21 days. In 21 days, all the brood is hatched, 24 for drones. All the brood is hatched, and that's when you put the last. That's when you put the last frame with young larva into there, and at the same time, so now it's going to be after 21 days again. They have a young larva in that frame, and at that time you can also pull out the excluder. Pull this one out. And do the same thing on that side. Cover the box, fill it with frames, and there are 4 now. You just keep watching. A lot of Varroa is gone, and you keep watching your honey supers being filled up. And now if you're already in July, you should probably start harvesting honey. Okay, when you release the queens, now you do understand if you have honey supers still on, the queens can go and meet and fight. So whether you have to remove honey supers and separate the hives at that time, or if you want to keep honey supers on, mandatory to put excluder over the middle, so the queens are locked in their own hives. Thank you very much for listening, and good luck.